welcome back to my channel, and welcome to another episode of Divorce in December. It feels like it should have a theme song to it, but that might be wildly inappropriate. Anyways, what I wanted to do today was answer some of your questions that you guys had regarding what I wear to work, to court, if I have any sort of go-to makeup items, things like that. As you can see, I don't have anything on my face, hence the dark circles. So I thought that I would just do like a chit chat, get ready with me. I don't actually have to go to court today, but I'm going to apply the makeup that I would apply if I was going to court. Simply so that you can see them in action, see the final look, all that good stuff. So to start off, I like to use the Illamaqua Hydra Veil Primer. There are other primers that I'll use, but I've got this one fairly recently, maybe within the last month or two, and I just really like how hydrating it is. It's sort of like a jelly consistency, like if you can see in, well, if you can see in there, it's very much like, focus, holy, you can do it. Holy crap. Oh, I don't have the autofocus on. That'll do it. That's better. It jiggles like a bowl full of jelly. And it comes with like a little scoop. So I just scoop some of it up and slap it on my face. And I like this one because it's not too heavy. Like it doesn't have a silicone kind of feel to it, which I don't particularly like. I have some primers that do have like dimethicone in it, but they're not my go-to simply because they do feel very heavy, and by the end of the day, I just cannot wait to wash my face. And if I'm going to be going to court, like the last thing I want to be is like distracted by how my face feels. Like that's just a silly thing to be distracted by and easily avoidable. So I like to use this nice hydrating one because it really does feel more like a skincare step than it does a makeup step. So I wrote out all the questions. Like it's been a while. It's been a while since I posted saying, hey, I think I'm gonna do this series in December, send me your questions. But what I did was I went through all the comments that I received from you guys on YouTube, on Twitter. I don't know if I got any on Instagram, but if I did, I wrote them down as well. And I put them all in one giant list, and then I kind of parsed them out into topics or themes. So today's theme was really just like what I wear, basically. And one of the questions was, do I have a power outfit? Not necessarily. Sorry, I'm gonna make some noise here. Make some noise. Sorry, I'm in a weird mood. I don't know what it is. This is the Dior Airflash. I like to use this one on court days because I know that it holds up over time. It doesn't separate on my skin. Again, by the end of the day, it doesn't feel heavy. I don't have this urge that I need to wash my face because it feels like it's like suffocating. It's just a really nice, light wear foundation. Anyways, back to what I was saying. When I go to the office, some days I have no client meetings at all, and I wear jeans. I have worn ripped jeans to the office. I've frankly worn track pants and a hoodie to the office on days when I know I'm not going to be meeting with any clients. I am of the belief that the suit does not make the professional. You know what I mean? Like they look professional, but I think you can still do every bit as effective work wearing track pants as you can wearing a suit. And in fact, I do not find suits to be particularly comfortable, so I think I do better work when I'm wearing track pants. When I go to court, however, obviously I'm not going to wear track pants. There is not necessarily a defined dress code, but there is like expectations and decorum expectations. So we're not going to be showing up with like ripped jeans or jeans at all. We're not going to be wearing running shoes or like off the shoulder shirts, things like that. So on days where I'm just at like a settlement type conference, so not a trial, not a motion, which is sort of like a mini trial, I will wear a dress. I usually put a blazer over top of it. Sometimes I'll wear like dress pants with a nice shirt. So it's really more business casual at that time. And even the judges are typically in like suits or business casual attire as well. They'll wear a dress or, you know, a sweater with some nice pants or something along those lines, or a shirt and tie for the male judges. However, when I do go for motions or on the occasions, I've only had one trial so far, but on that occasion, I have to wear something called robes. And I'm just gonna stick a picture up here just so you have an idea. You don't get to see obviously the full body, but you get an idea of what the robes look like. It's kind of like a graduation gown, really, but we have to wear the white collar with the tabs. There's a black jacket that goes over it, and then there's like a cape, basically. That's what's called the gowns, but they are a gigantic pain in the butt. They are very long, so they go down to the, like below, like to the knees area, yeah, about the knees. But when you sit down on a chair, they hit the ground, and all of our chairs in our courtrooms are wheelie. So the number of times that myself and other lawyers have wheeled over their robes and then they can't get up, and it's a comedy show waiting to happen. Also, the sleeves come down to the ankles and they're very like loose. So you get hooked on the edge of like the rows of chairs. You get hooked on door handles. Like I've been hooked and then drop like my binder full of papers everywhere. Like it's a hazard. So in terms of a power outfit, I don't really have one, but that's also because most of my work attire is from before my surgery. By the way, that's the Milani Conceal and Perfect concealer, obviously, and I love it. It's long wearing, it doesn't crepe up, it doesn't get all like caught in the fine lines under there, it offers a ton of coverage. It's perfect for a long day because it will last a long day. So I would very much like, once my weight loss journey is done, which is a weird concept in and of itself, but at any rate, when that happens, I wouldn't mind investing in a power outfit per se. Just something, even if it's a suit or a dress with a blazer, something that just makes me feel confident. And I like wearing stuff like that, like things that I think I look good in or that look good on me, especially when I have like a four-way meeting. So not at court necessarily, but at my office where another lawyer and their client comes to me, or at their office where I go to them. It just makes me feel a little bit more comfortable and confident, and that's a good thing. I'm gonna go ahead and set that with the Laura Mercier powder. I have talked about this powder a lot in the past. I really like it because it doesn't look powdery, so there's that. I find that it really does lock my makeup into place, but it doesn't alter the color of my foundation or anything like that. I've had some in the past that sort of like leave almost like a grayish cast on the skin, or if you get like a banana powder and it's too yellow, it just ends up making you look off. But this one really is translucent, and I do find that it does help with the longevity of my makeup. So somebody did ask if, as a female, in a, I wouldn't even say it's male dominated anymore, but in a traditionally male dominated career, I guess I should preface this in case anybody is new, but I am a family lawyer, so there's that. They asked if I faced any adversity as a female, and I really had to think about that, and I don't necessarily think I've faced like adversity per se. Like I don't feel like I've ever been actively discriminated against. I've always been paid the same amount as like my male counterparts at the firms that I've been at. But where it comes into play, I find, is sometimes older male lawyers, not so much in the area that I work. Like I find we have a really good bar in this area. Like we're all, for the most part, I shouldn't say all, but the vast majority of us are very collegial with each other. Lawyers email me with questions, I email other lawyers with questions, and we're all very like willing to help each other. It's a really nice area to work, and I'm really grateful for that, because you just establish these friendships with people. And sometimes clients are like, why are you friends with the other lawyer? Why wouldn't I be friends with the other lawyer? And frankly, it helps you if I'm friends with the other lawyer, because we can, like, the lawyers and I will talk together and try to brainstorm solutions and try to find ways to help our respective clients without, you know, selling either one of them out, but trying to work with each other instead of against each other. So you want your lawyer to be on good terms with the other one. Anyways, I'm going to use the Natasha Denona contour powder for contouring. Shocking, I know. So what was I saying? So sometimes with older lawyers from the city, so from Toronto or Toronto adjacent, I find that sometimes they don't seem to have as much mutual respect, if you will. So you get kind of the idea that they're sort of looking down on you a little bit. And I have to sort of qualify that, because that could be because I'm a female, and I experienced it more so when I was younger. But it also could be the fact that I practice in a smaller town. It's not really small, like we have like 150,000 people, but Torontonians often view us as bumpkins. So it could be a little bit of A, a little bit of B, but sometimes you get that sense that there's just not the same, like there's an us and them kind of feel. And then sometimes it is particularly with male lawyers, they will sort of treat me like their secretary. So when we're at court, the whole point is trying to reach a resolution. So if we do, we write up something called minutes of settlement, and that just is an agreement that people sign, and then we convert it into a court order. And obviously, by nature of that, somebody has to write it up. And most times, like, I will say, I am quite happy to do the drafting of it, because then I'm in control of it and I get to word it the way that I want to word it. And then we're working off of my draft. So there is a little bit of a benefit to being the drafter. But when you expect that I'm going to do the drafting and then you just bugger off to go, like, have lunch somewhere or go get coffee or something like that, that's where I'm gonna have a problem, because it should be a collaborative thing. It really should. But also don't just like expect that I'm going to do the drafting simply because I'm the female. You know what I mean? Like, that's not gonna fly. Anyways, Fenty Into Sun Sunstalker Bronzer. I like this one because it is a fairly light bronzer, so it just sort of warms up my skin a little bit without being overwhelming about it and without being really obvious about it. So I really like this one. What else with females? So sometimes I get it more from like potential clients than anything. Sorry, Patrick Ta, She's Passionate Blush. I like this one because it's just like a really natural flush on the skin. Again, nothing too obvious or overstated. Where I feel like I'm being interviewed for a like job position is where I start to get a little concerned about what the working relationship between myself and a potential client is going to be. And that's why we start off with consultations, is so that the clients can get a sense of what the lawyer's like, the lawyer can get a sense of what the issues are and what the client's like, and then we can sort of mutually decide if it's going to be a workable relationship or not. And there are times, it's taken me a while, but there are times where I have to just say no, that I'm just not going to take this on. For example, if I'm going to be lawyer number like 3, 4, 5 plus, I'm not going to take that matter on. I'll be the second lawyer. I don't want to be anything more than that. Simply because there's usually a reason why somebody has gone through at least 2 lawyers already, and they're usually the common denominator. Let's put it that way. And a lot of lawyers share that sort of sentiment with me. It's sort of like an unstated rule. You can be number 2, don't be 3rd or more. There it is. Anyways, I'm sorry, I'm bouncing around on the topics, but sometimes we'll get, like, I don't mean to generalize, but I will get male potential clients into these consultations, and they will say, like, What is your win-loss ratio? How long have you been doing this? Why should I hire you over the others? What is your experience versus other people? Have you heard of so-and-so? How do you compare to so-and-so? Things like that. And those are usually red flags for me. There's a balance, right? So it's totally fine to ask questions because it's a huge investment and you're bringing somebody into your life at your most vulnerable moment to deal with like the most personal things that can be dealt with. So you need to be comfortable with the person that you're hiring. But when you start going like, have you heard of so-and-so and how do you compare to them? And that other person is a male. Like, if you're not confident with me, you don't need to be retaining me. And when people ask me, like, it happens very, very rarely, but it has happened where they've asked me like hypotheticals, like, how would you handle this situation? I'm like, I'm not in law school and this is not an exam. I am not going to be talking about hypotheticals, but I'm more than happy to talk about your actual scenario. It just, every now and then you get the sense that they just don't trust you. And whether that's because that's the way they approach everybody or whether it's because you're a female, it's hard to know. But as a female, I internalize it as this is because I'm a woman. And I will tell those people, sorry, that was Moonstone by Becca. Illuminates, not hyper reflective. That's why I like it for court. I will tell those people, if you're not confident in me at this stage, you are not going to be confident with me as we actually progress to court, through negotiations, whatever the case may be. And I do tell them that they deserve to feel as confident as they possibly can with their lawyer, and that I am not one bit offended if they want to continue interviewing other lawyers. And then I will often mark their file as no, simply because, again, if they don't trust me at that point, those are the clients that second guess my advice. And again, there's a balance. Like, my job is giving advice. My job is not making the decisions. I guide my clients through the process. I explain and translate the law to them, tell them how it applies to their situation, give them their options in terms of what available avenues there are for them, what's going to be most cost efficient, what's going to be most likely to get a positive result. Sometimes those things aren't the same thing. But I am very much in the business of giving advice. And if somebody is going to second guess every piece of advice that I give them, it becomes very exhausting and it becomes very stressful, because once they do make a decision, if that decision does not turn out to be favorable for them for whatever reason, the person that they blame is me. And so I've learned that through experience, and that is why once I get that sort of spidey sense during the consultation, I just decline to act for those people. So I guess that is probably the biggest adversity, if you can even call it that. It's just sort of the most obvious, like, I don't really want to call it sexism. I guess in a way it is, I guess. But it's just like, that's one of the bigger challenges, is that and of course I don't know what goes on in my male counterpart's office. I don't know if they have these more executive type male clients also asking them the same questions. So eyeshadow time. When I'm going to court, I do typically keep my makeup very neutral. I don't often wear bright lipstick or bright eyeshadow. I'm never going to wear glitter to court. As far as I'm aware, there are no rules regarding makeup, but I don't want to be the reason for rules to be put into place. So I kind of walk the more conservative line with it. When I'm going to the office, I'll wear whatever. Whatever like tickles my fancy that particular morning, I will wear. Now, typically speaking, because I am on like limited time in the morning to get ready, I still often gravitate towards neutrals. I don't really wear elaborate looks. I'm probably never going to wear a cut crease to the office, but I will be a little bit more experimental with my makeup and a little more fun, if you will, for lack of a better word. Court, whole different ballgame. So the palette I'm going to use is the Vida palette from Melt Cosmetics. There's two reasons that I'm using it. One, I actually do like these little brown shades in the middle here, and also these shadows do last throughout the day. They don't just sort of glob all together in one like amorphous mess. And also, I'm going to be filming the last part of my review video for this so that I can finally get it up for you guys. So it's helpful just to have the product on my eyes. So I'm going to dip in, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce these because I'll just murder it and make myself sound very uncultured. But I'm going to dip into this light brown shade right here and just put that all throughout the crease and blending up towards the brow bones. And while I do that, I will answer another question, and I had put it in the list for a different video, but I'm going to answer it here simply because I've answered all the other questions that fell under this category. So the question was, what are some of the biggest challenges? And there are a number of challenges that I face. So I own my own firm, which has its own challenges. I have a business partner, so we have to make decisions together. We don't always agree on what those decisions are going to be, and that isn't always easy. We have had some sit-down conversations where we talk about how we're going to deal with this kind of thing and really work on our communication, but it hasn't always been easy. I've never regretted it, but it has its challenges, and I think in any industry, when you have a business partner, there's going to be challenges because, again, you might have different visions of how you want the company to go or how to get to where you're going, things of that nature. So sometimes those little challenges pop up. There's also challenges in the fact that I do have a diagnosis of anxiety, and when my anxiety is not well controlled or when I do get overwhelmed with things, it can start to translate into depression as well. I'm going to go into this mid-tone brown here. I take medication. I've talked about this numerous times. I have nothing to hide. I'm not ashamed of it. It just is what it is. But this is a very stressful career, and it's not always the most uplifting. I do have days where I just dread what's coming down the pipes. Like I'll have a court date or a 4-way meeting coming up, and I'm just like, can I please just wake up with the stomach flu that day? Because I just don't want to deal with this. Not always, but that does happen sometimes. And sometimes I can really tell why. Sometimes it's the personality of the other party or the personality of the other lawyer. Sometimes it's my own client's personality. Sometimes it's just the issues that we're going to be dealing with. Like there's a multitude of reasons, and sometimes I just don't know why I feel so anxious about things. But I have people relying on me. So I have to like put the big girl pants on and get her done. Like I've literally thrown up at court before because of nerves. It was a really like high conflict issue. It was just an ugly motion that I had to argue. The other party was despicable. The other lawyer was not. I actually really have a lot of respect for that lawyer. But the issues were really, really complex, and like you had no idea which way it was going to go. So there's a lot on the line. And I was just very, very nervous about that. I was also pregnant with Bennett, so that didn't help issues because I couldn't take my medication at that point, so I was just sort of free falling. But there are times where you just would rather do anything but your job, and you don't really have that luxury. You just don't. So that is another big challenge that I have. I think honestly the biggest challenge that I have is separating work from personal life. Not in the sense of building time. I'm not a workaholic. Like I don't have any desire to be sitting in my office for 14 hours just getting all the dockets and doing all the billable hours and things like that. That's not my personality, and I'm fine with that. I'm really happy with that, to be honest. But in terms of not carrying other people's problems home with me, and that, again, has taken a lot of experience to learn how to leave that kind of thing at the office, and I'm not always successful with it. Again, medication helps. I used to wake up in the middle of the night quite frequently, just ruminating this dark brown here and just thinking, like, writing letters literally in my head and creating submissions. I would run through entire motions like in my head, just because I couldn't stop thinking about things, or I would think about what I should have said or what it could have been, or, you know, what did I forget to attach to that letter that got sent out, or how many emails are sitting in my inbox, and it gets to be too much. Then I also sometimes will think about the children involved in these matters, and by and large, most parents have their kids' best interests at heart, and most parents are willing to compromise when it comes to their kids so that their kids don't suffer the fallout of their parents' separation. And those are the parents that I just want to hug because they have their priorities right. Not every parent does. And sometimes it is a legitimate mental health issue. Sometimes they're just an asshole. And again, that can go for moms and for dads. It is where the children are significantly impacted that comes home with me. And I have sympathy for these children that I've never met and probably never will meet. And sometimes it just breaks my heart because I'm like, I'm limited in terms of what the law allows. And sometimes there's no good solution for that. So I don't do child protection matters, and the reason I don't is because I can't handle it. My heart cannot handle it. Okay, it looks nice, but I like a shimmer shadow on my lids. I just don't like all matte. I don't feel comfortable in it. So I'm gonna go back into Moonstone from Becca and just add that as an eyeshadow. I shouldn't say I don't feel comfortable in it. I feel totally comfortable in it. I just don't like it as much as when I have something a little bit more shimmery on my lids. So the biggest challenge for me is just leaving the details of the matters at the office and trying to clear them out of my head so that I can be present for my own children. Because it does them no good if I'm so worried about other kids that mine are left on the back burner. So I'm going to use a liquid eyeliner, but I am not going to even bother attempting a wing because that is a surefire way to ruin your makeup, especially if you're in a hurry in the morning. So I'm just going to like line really close to the lashes. And this is a brown liner from Clinique. It's one of their Pretty Easy liners, and it's so, so good. A subscriber recommended this to me probably 2 years ago, and I keep repurchasing them. I have a backup of this one sitting in the drawer because I love it so much. All right, I'm not even gonna bother with like a waterline liner because it'll just disappear anyways. So it's one less thing to worry about because sometimes depending on the liner, it'll kind of like escape the waterline and just get smudged down around my lashes. This way, I don't even have to worry about that happening. So one less thing to have on my mind. I'm gonna use the Caution Extreme mascara from Hourglass simply because it's out. I really don't get fussy about what mascara I use. Now that everything but lips are done, I'm gonna go ahead and set my makeup. I'm just using a little mini of the Coconut Mac Fix Plus. I have such a hard time saying that for some reason. I don't know why, but at any rate. When I'm at court, I don't have a lot of time to be touching up my lipstick or worrying about whether something's smudged or faded or done anything that it shouldn't do, whether it's all over my teeth or whatever. I don't have time for that. I don't have time for really precise touch-ups or anything of that nature. So when I am choosing which lipstick I want to wear, I'm looking for a couple of things. Either longevity from a formula that I trust not to turn all gummy on my lips or get really sticky or crumbly or do anything that I just really don't want it to do. Or I'm looking for something that's going to be really easy to touch up. There are two options that I have that kind of address those things. So one is Modesty from MAC. This is one of their cream sheen lipsticks. So it's not the most long wearing, but it's really easy to apply. And I don't feel like I have to do a super precise application. So this is one that I can just kind of carry in my pocket, slap on, and feel like it's probably not going to look a complete hot mess. So that's what it looks like on. Now I'm going to take it off and show you the other one. The other option that I have is a liquid lipstick, and this is pretty much the only liquid lipstick that I will wear to court, simply because they are a bit of a liability. Either your lips get really uncomfortable, or they fade away from the center of your lips and you're just left with this ungodly ring around the mouth, or they get all crumbly, or they get gummy, or just there's a liability issue with liquid lipsticks. However, this one is fantastic. This is the Stunna lip paint from Fenty Beauty in the shade Uncuffed. It's a nice like rosy kind of tone, so fits with the whole keeping things neutral. It's very, like, it's a very thin application, so I find that my lips don't get very uncomfortable. And this one, I know no matter how much I'm talking during the morning, it's going to carry me through till lunch. And at lunch, I will then have time to reapply, and it's going to carry me through again till the end of the day. This is one that I trust. I know it's not going to do anything that I don't want it to do, and I know it's going to have really good lasting power. So there is Uncuffed on my lips. It is darker than Modesty, but it's still very neutral, and it still just sort of balances out with what I have going on my eyes and doesn't draw a ton of attention to my lips. So I like it for court. All right, and there you have it, guys. These are my quote-unquote holy grail items to wear basically when I go to court, but extend that further to basically anytime I want really long-lasting makeup and I don't want to have to worry about it. These are the items that I gravitate towards for that. They have never done me dirty, and I appreciate that, because the worst thing is where you spend a full day somewhere, whether it's work or at a function or whatever you're doing, and you get home and you're like, Jesus, why did nobody tell me that I look like this? Because you have mascara smudged down here, or your foundation is just all mottled all over the place, or you have lipstick on your teeth, or lipstick up here, or whatever the case may be. These products lock into place for me, and I don't have to worry about my makeup while I'm out of the house. And I like that. So happy to share with you guys. I have one more video that is at least planned, but if you guys are enjoying this kind of content, let me know down below. If you have additional questions, let me know down below. I'm happy to continue doing this kind of stuff. The response has been really positive, so if you have like working mom related questions kind of thing, let me know, and I will work it into a future video. But for now, thank you so much for taking the time to watch, and I will see you in my next video. Until then, just be a decent human being. Bye for now.